Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Trotting, or is that accelerating through Aquarius? Um, yeah, it's already been quite a week with Neptune moving into Aries and Mars moving into Aquarius and making that stellium even more fun to hang around with. And a little bit more on that after we do our opening gambit, which is just to set the tone to remind ourselves that life always has room for laughter and for silliness, and it may be the perfect antidote uh, in this time when we can never seem to escape from a constant barrage of stuff we don't have any control over, right? So anyway, so Andy, are you going to trot out the props and tell me what kind of soup are you making this week?
I'll tell you what the soup looks like in Aquarius right now. That's
And
how many planets. That's how many planets are in the soup right now.
They're spilling out of the pot.
Yeah,
and
it's just like Mars, Venus, Saturn, Sun.
We need a
okay,
bigger pot.
Yeah,
so
I need it.
guess,
Yeah,
I guess the implication is there's your conscious everybody's consciousness is in overdrive, um, or the option is just to just hide under the bed, maybe.
it's more like a stew than a soup right now.
There's too much in there,
Yeah.
and it really doesn't taste like very much of anything
Mm.
except
It
a
tastes like
lot
Mars
of.
on Pluto.
Yuck.
What does Mars on Pluto taste like?
Kind
Well,
of
it's kind of like when you eat
metallic.
one of those puffer fish and it kills you.
Eh, say that I have a Mars Pluto sextile.
No. Well, you're
It
saved
probably
by the
saved
six.
me more times than I can count.
Okay.
Only just saying.
All right.
Um,
Well, if you want some, let me know.
yeah, well, most of the vegetables that you have to put in those soups are not vegetables that I like, so I wonder how that happened.
Here, I'll
Like,
put some. I'll put some keys in the soup.
That gives the
And
right metallic taste, I think, for Pluto Mars.
yeah, there you go.
I don't know
I put
about you,
some
but these,
water in the soup because it's the water bear, or it's the cup bear. I don't know. I watched last week's episode.
well, you're required to watch it.
I would
It's
watch
not a
it for
matter of
free.
choice for you.
That's true. I'm
Uh,
imprisoned watching this show. Just kidding.
oh, and so in honor of what Bronwyn and I are going to talk about, my special guest, Bronwyn Simons, astrologer and artist and generally wonderful human being.
Oh, thanks, Leslie. I'm really happy
So
to be here.
I wore a sweatshirt, and probably the only one that I have, and you can't really see what it says, but it says, "In my defense, the moon was full and I was left unsupervised." It's perfect for a person who's an Aquarius. Uh, I mean, I don't really know why people are worried about leaving me unsupervised.
I'm supervising you, so that's not happening right now.
You really think that's what you're doing?
Well, it depends on the
Good luck
segment.
with that. It reminds me of the therapist I had. Um, Actually, she's my therapist again 30 years later. But I remember having a friend who was seeing a psychologist. She said, "Oh, I really love my psychologist. She gives me homework." And I went, "Homework?" So
Mhm.
I told my therapist what she'd said. And she said, "Well, Leslie, you'll notice I only ever give you suggestions." And then I found out later that her birthday was the same day as mine. She's just 4 years younger than I am. So she understood. You
Mhm.
only ever give an Aquarius suggestions.
Mhm.
Anyway, so and Bronwyn, are you going to introduce us to your owl friend? Because we can't see
She
him.
fell off.
She fell off. She's so
Oh,
cute.
Oh,
what is
Leslie, you have an angel on your shoulder, so I have it snowy owl on my shoulder.
Yeah, well, yeah.
If you look carefully, there's owls everywhere in my space.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that your totem animal, your spirit guide, your
They hang
favorite?
around with me, I would say.
Hmm.
More intensely since I've been going through my second Saturn return.
Are you wise?
Interesting.
Like
I
Noah?
think I'm getting there.
Okay.
Oh, I'd say you're already there, Bronwyn, but that's just my opinion.
I have entered into elderhood, so we would hope that there would be some wisdom.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people of a certain age that wisdom has yet to knock on their door. And let me say this, that
Oh, there she goes,
maybe,
flying away.
well, you can't, they come
They're
and they go.
mysterious beings.
Please. What?
They're mysterious beings that come and go.
Well, you know what, Bronwyn, I think it symbolically feels like a perfect animal for you, because I think that, first of all, you love the mysteries
Mhm.
of life. And I think that people believe you are much more obvious than you actually are. Just a little bit of psychic insight that I wasn't planning on.
4 planets in the 12th house. I have an invisibility cloak. No one can see me.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Well, I see you, but that's
I
beside the
know.
point.
I'm joking.
I know, but
I hear you.
well, we all have a little bit of Neptunian stuff going on.
Yeah.
I
Andrea's
can't
moon in
smell you over
Pisces.
Zoom though.
What?
I can't smell her over Zoom.
Okay.
Just saying.
Not sure
It's
what
one of
that
the
was
things.
in aid of.
Yeah,
Well,
using
if
the other
someone has an
senses
invisibility cloak,
to
you can still
perceive
smell
me.
them. You can still smell them.
I usually smell like sandalwood, so you'll know.
Oh, God, I got lost somewhere, and that's really okay. Because
This
the only
is Saturn and Pisces at the anaretic degree, almost conjunct Neptune. Like, what is language? What are we talking about? What is this? What's
I
Have
know,
happening?
some soup. Have some soup.
but I have other reasons in my chart where I lose track of what people are talking about. And maybe it's my moon trine Neptune. It just wanders off to do its own thing.
It's beautiful.
So I guess that kind of. Oh, I didn't show a pal.
No, we want to see your pal.
Well, okay. So ever since I started, ever since I started doing this segment of showing off my teddy bears, because I have a lot, and Bronwyn doesn't know the story. This is to heal the trauma of me having to give my sister my teddy bear when I was 4.
Oh,
A lot of teddy bears. They started living in my office all the time, and I have a bunch. So, but this one didn't. He's a Christmas bear,
huh?
and it's a little past Christmas, but it's almost my birthday, so that's okay. He said
Oh,
his name is Clive. I don't know his name is
at least he
Clive.
gave you his name as opposed to last week when the bear wouldn't tell you his name or her name.
She wouldn't tell me.
Hmm.
She must be a Scorpio. Anyway, so you know, it's funny because I always wonder what do people think of a woman who's almost 76 years old who's attached to stuffies? And actually, it's because there was a quote that I had on my Facebook page, something about genius is connected to always having some connection to your inner child, to your child. Anyway, so this I think officially makes me a genius. Anyway, as you can tell, I was a little bit hesitant to say that. Aquarians are not very good at self-promotion.
Come on, you have Pluto and Leo on the ascendant. You can do it.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's cute as a button, and they bring joy and make me smile, and that's important because it's just important
We love
in
when
my
you're
world anyway.
smiling. Okay.
I don't understand the people who can't find any joy in life, but that's just my personal preference. So now I'm going to pin me, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up. Next episode, Tracy Quinlan and Jennifer Ng, as I mentioned last week, one talking about her new book and the other talking about the Chinese New Year. And then on February the 18th, Sam Reynolds will be joining me, and we have yet to figure out what the heck we're going to be talking about, followed by then Marlene Chapman's going to come back and finish talking about numerology, only this time instead of talking about what kind of year we're going to have, it's going to be a little bit more about what's your personal numerology, and she's going to be prepared to help you figure that out. So enough about what's coming up, and now Leslie's going to, and now we're going to talk about what's in the bowl. And of course, when I'm finished the general overview, then Bronwyn and I are going to get right to talking about I'm
The
sorry.
moon.
I-
The
it-
moon.
no, when I pinned myself, then I couldn't see eyes in it. It kind of threw me for a loop. So I'm not going to play with technology today because there are days when technology does not like me, which I know runs counter to what people think about the sign of Aquarius. Maybe it's my Saturn Virgo. It likes technology as long as it works. And if it's not working, whatever. So, this might feel like it's going to be a quieter week, but not so much. Not so much. The energy is really building, and to what kind of peak point, we don't know. And that's always the challenge when you're talking about Aquarius energy, because it's not easy to predict exactly how it's going to manifest. A friend of mine who's also an astrologer, I remember this would have been in the early 90s, and we were both Aquarians. And, oh, yeah, we understand Uranus. It'll be fine. We've got this. No, 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 we didn't. So this is the challenge, which is why whenever I talk about energy, I just talk about the trends and what it's going to feel like, because it's really up to each individual person to work with that energy. And hopefully today, Andy and I will get to the tips and the tricks about how to handle all this wild tornado, swirly, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways, up your ass energy that well, Pluto is involved. That so it's going to feel like things are coming at you from all different directions. And so when Andy and I get to tips and tricks, we're going to talk about exactly how you can create some space, because it can feel like your circuits are being overloaded. And sometimes really that is the way things happen and they feel, because it's only when our circuits are overloaded that we can make some kind of a breakthrough. Because if we've got everything mentally under control, and of course we're talking about Aquarius as an air sign, and so one of the questions is, what is it that are you communicating, and how are you communicating it? So, Mars is going to conjunct Pluto, and that's why this week is not quiet. There's going to be an intense burst of either need to get things done, coming in contact with something that you feel passionate about that you weren't, or that you need to act on that passion. But it also has the potential to bring up a lot of rage and a lot of anger. And so my comment would be, if you start to feel that, shoving it down is not really going to work. So if you really have trouble processing it, the first thing you ought to do is go work out or do something really physical, and invite your body to release them, because a lot of what this conjunction can be is taking action towards transformation. What's part of the transformation process? Purging and releasing. And so there are old patterns that obviously we can see both personally and globally that need to be addressed. However, each and every one of us can only take charge of our own lives. And you'll notice I don't use the word control because I think that control is an illusion. I think that you can take charge of what you can do, but you still don't, as much as we wish we had control over things. It's like me going to make a particular spaghetti dish yesterday, thinking, yeah, the ingredients must be just fine. I can't remember because I couldn't remember when I bought the bacon, only to discover that no, it said it was best until next week, but my little radar said no. And then I had usually one of my internal arguments about who was right, my body or my brain. I saw the way you looked at me, Bronwyn. Anyway, so again, that energy is going to be powerful and a bit overwhelming. But as long as you know that, then you can prepare for it. So there's no sense in trying to run away from energy because no matter what you do, in some way you still have to process it, and then everybody can choose whatever way they want to process it. So along with that, Mars and Pluto doing this, which is cozying up to each other, they're going to be squaring a happy little moon or not so happy little moon in Taurus, which is going to say, well, come on, like the structure's fine the way that it is. Why can't you just be satisfied with that? Now, that is the slightly less healthy way of responding to it. Or you can realize that you get to build a different sense of security inside yourself on an emotional level. So bear that in mind. And then after that, we have the full moon, and this is a humdinger of a full moon. We have 5 planets in Aquarius, and I'm not even counting the asteroids of the dwarf planet Ceres because she is now considered a planet. I don't always talk about her because she's not someone that I currently feel. I feel her, but it hasn't translated to an actual understanding of her. So there's all this, because essentially the moon in Leo is fun, loving, kind, but also it can be slightly demanding if it doesn't feel it's getting its due. In fact, moon in Leo can often be way more self-involved. And I don't mean that negatively. I'm just describing something than actually the sun in Leo. Because sun in Leo's essence, the moon is more, and this is a perfect segue because we're going to talk to Bronwyn right away about that because I wanted to talk a little bit more with her about what the moon is up to, both the full moon and then the solar eclipse, which is actually a new moon. But the moon is more personal and more present in our lives on a daily basis. And I know when I first started studying astrology, and I think the tendency still exists to see the moon as second place, when in actual fact, if it wasn't for her, she's the one who translates the sun's intentions on a daily basis. So anyways, having said all that, I'm going to figure out how to do this. So I'm going to, what? Oh, and then Andy completely disappeared. I don't know what's happening.
Still here.
I know,
She's still here.
I don't like it when and then there's one of me. I don't know. Anyways, it's not surprising that I would be having technical issues. maybe I should stop resisting technology quite the way that I do. So I'm happy to welcome Bronwyn to join. Geez, can't even talk today. To join me in talking about the moon. The moon is one of Bronwyn's favorite topics. Well, it's more than a topic for Bronwyn. It's an absolute way of life. She did a wonderful presentation for our astrological group on using the moon. And she was probably my first choice when I thought about someone I would like to talk about the moon with.
Thanks, Leslie.
Well, you're welcome. So, and where would you like to begin?
I really appreciated what you said about the importance of the moon in terms of translating the light of really everything else, including the sun, which is the light of the sun is too much for us to look at and take in. And I think this is a great metaphor for these great archetypal energies of the planets. The moon helps us literally to look right in the face of sunlight. We can do it. The moon allows us to. And in the same way, symbolically, she allows us to integrate into our bodies and selves the archetypal energy of these huge and mysterious planetary guides by literally reflecting their light onto us. I like the metaphor of mother's milk. We think, the mother is often associated with the moon. And what do we do when we're nursing a child? We take in all this complex food that the baby's not able to digest yet, and we make it into this nourishing, digestible substance. There are so many mythic associations of the moon with mother's milk, and I think it matches with that idea of translating the light. So the moon, far from being a lesser light or a side topic, is actually our primary teacher. And following her movements is always what I recommend to students when they're first beginning, because she moves so quickly, we can understand the nature of transits that might play out over decades or even centuries with the bigger outer planets. But she makes the rounds every month, so she helps us to understand what's going on in the sky on so many levels. So to disregard her is really a mistake. And when we're living through huge transits like this, these momentous transits that are once in 250 years or once in 37 years or once in 30 years, how do we hold that in our bodies when these transits play out over months? We watch when the moon triggers those transits, just like you're talking about. You were talking about it earlier with that Taurus moon, translating the energy of Pluto, Mars for us. That's what she does on those days when the moon aspects those bigger transits. Those are the days when we can look to see what's happening in our bodies and minds and gain a better understanding and maybe begin to metabolize some of these
Yeah,
bigger.
I love that word because we don't realize that we understand that we metabolize food, which is very connected to the moon. We don't understand that we metabolize thoughts,
Mhm.
feelings, other things besides the physical things. And I think it's fascinating that whenever we talk about, when astrologers talk about, and this is just a little off topic, but not off topic, people who are not astrologers get a little bit of a glimpse into in how astrologers grow.
Mhm.
Is that when we look at a transit, do we often ask ourselves, where's the moon when this particular transit transpires? Because that's a key.
Mhm.
That really is a key.
Yeah.
And so one of the values of this for the, because of course my podcast is really focused on anybody who's interested, actually, they don't have to be astrologers, is to talk about the importance of the phase of the moon that each person was born under.
Yeah.
And I always say because I've done workshops on this, is that's kind of like your home, your time of the month when the moon is in that phase. And would you like to speak a little bit more to that?
Sure. I absolutely agree, and this is something that I think is a really good place for beginners to start if you want to connect with the phases of the moon and start to understand how astrology speaks directly to our minds and bodies, to connect with your natal moon phase, even more than your moon sign, which can be kind of until you've really learned more, it's sometimes hard to, it seems abstract. Um, so I think something that people forget is that the moon phases are a relationship. They're a relationship between the two lights. So it's about how the moon is dancing with the sun. And so it's about how our sort of our ego, our aspirations, our outer self, our shining self is relating to our inner world and our emotions and our psyche. And if we're speaking of the natal relationship, it speaks to how the sun within you, your aspirational self, your shining self, relates to on a daily basis your emotional self. So it says something about how you navigate the world and how you see those two different aspects of your life. I was born under, actually, it's my natal birth phase now as we're recording. I know it won't be the same day as people are watching this, but I went out last night and saw that first sliver of the new moon. It's not the crescent moon yet. And that's my birth phase. And if I think about how aligned my sense of my physical self, my emotional self, plus my aspirations, my goals, my spiritual self. They're close together, very much going in the same direction. I think that's a function of both the new and the balsamic moon in different ways. Whereas somebody born under a full moon with the moon and sun in opposition might really feel at times that there's a lot of dynamism and activity in the conversation between their shining aspirational self and their inner emotional self.
It can feel like they never know whether they're acting at cross purposes to
Yeah.
where they really want to go, and how do they try to integrate what seem to be opposites when they actually operate on the same energy.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I was born under the balsamic moon.
That's beautiful. I love that relationship too with when somebody with a balsamic and a new moon get together because in such a similar place but with such entirely different energy. It's like the 0 degree and the 29 degree. One is a fully matured and ripened sense of light and dark, and one is like perpetually enticed by the mystery.
Let's go. Yeah. Well, and yet they do have, for me, they have something in common because they're both predominantly in the dark of the moon.
Yes.
Um, which is that, because people always think the new moon isn't necessarily about initiating, but the question is, what are you initiating?
Yeah.
You're initiating whatever the balsamic moon was guiding you towards.
Yes.
You're not beginning to build it. That doesn't come until the first quarter. Uh, I just, yeah, I find that, oh, for God's sakes, it's always interesting talking to someone whose sun and moon are in the same sign, and one is a balsamic and the other is a new. There's a connection there that because sometimes we forget energy's fluid.
Yeah.
In astrology, we need to remind ourselves things are fluid.
Yeah.
What you think of as a limit is not a limit. That's why I would want to. There's an astrologer that I don't know if you know Wade Case Bronwyn, but I do, and
Yeah.
I
I mean, I
and
don't know him personally, but
I love his feeling about house cusp. We're just talking a little astrology here, which is more about that's a concentration of power and energy as opposed to a door.
yes.
But then that would appeal to people like you and I because if it's interesting the understanding the quality of the moon that you were born under tells you a lot about something deep within you
Yeah.
that can't necessarily be quantified as much as we astrologers like to do our very best to do that. But
Yeah.
anyway, so any places for anyone who's watching this who doesn't have any idea what phase of the moon they were born under, is there any place where they can
Oh,
go to find that out?
there's a really good calculator on AstroSeek. I think if you just Google AstroSeek natal moon phase calculator, you'll get it. That's the one that I direct people to.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind just emailing that to me after,
Yeah,
I'm going to
you
be
can pop the
posting
link in.
some fun stuff promoting you. And so, because I also like, my Saturn is in Virgo, so I like to give people some practical ways
Yeah.
they can explore things. Because I think it's funny that sometimes we feel like sharing information is somehow diminishing the mystery of things when it never is. Like,
For me, this is my Gemini ascendant, but I think it just accentuates the mystery. Like the more you know, the more you want to know, and the more you realize you don't know. So it's good. It's all good.
so did you want to talk a little bit about the that full moon? Did
Yeah,
you do
I've
you
got
have
a
any
chart
thoughts
here.
about that full moon? I
I
do.
I have a thought about these three lunations kind of as a narrative. Um, so
Go
we
for
have
it.
this normally I wouldn't think of eclipse season starting until maybe the lunation before the first eclipse, but um don't you feel like we're already in the eclipse tunnel? Like things are so intense. So I was looking at this upcoming full moon, which is not an eclipsed moon.
No, it's not. Yeah.
The new moon that follows it is the first in the eclipse season. It's solar eclipse first, and then the full moon after that in 1 month is also eclipsed. I think of eclipse seasons as a narrative anyway, and sometimes we have the lunar eclipse first and then the solar eclipse. And this again is about that relationship of the sun and the moon. Uh, Those eclipse seasons seem to be about we do the emotional work first, and then the thing comes at us from the outer world. Lunar eclipse first, then solar eclipse. When the solar eclipse comes first, what I've noticed in my own lived experience and with clients is that these can feel more sort of disruptive and intense because the outer circumstances come in first. And then the lunar eclipse comes after to kind of help us, again, I'll use that word, metabolize what has occurred. So it isn't necessarily actually more disruptive, but it can feel more disruptive to our psyches and nervous systems because that solar eclipse is always, you're talking about Uranus being unpredictable. Like we cannot say what those
Well,
transits are going to feel like, and eclipses have that same quality, right?
in this
Um,
one in particular, the sun will actually be that new moon eclipse is square Uranus.
oh, yeah,
So,
and it's already has so much of that disruptive
well,
feeling. So,
and the
yeah,
interesting thing I find about that is we're talking about initiation points and
yeah,
aneretic degrees, which we've had
yes.
for the last several months, which is like, am I never going to be finished with this? How, you want me to finish with something while I initiate something? It can be quite
And that's
confusing.
all just in our heads right now.
Yeah.
But when these eclipses come, it's going to be boom. Okay, that's what it is. Like there will be no choice but to release. It's coming. So I feel like this full moon is going to kind of have this quality of a rough transition. And then the first eclipse, the solar eclipse, will have this quality of sort of stark reality and coming to terms with what is now. And then finally, that full moon coming along with, oh, thank goodness, all of the Pisces, it's going to come with that Mars just moving into Pisces, is going to give us the ability to self-soothe and emotionally metabolize. So I think people should expect these next 6 weeks to be like a bit of a rough ride. It's very doable. We can do this. But I think having some preparation helps because we can schedule a little more lightly. We can take extra good care of ourselves and hydrate and nourish ourselves and look at these dates of the lunations to say, okay, it's going to feel like a rough transition. Then I'm going to look at the reality. And, for some people, that's going to be a beautiful new reality right away. I don't mean to catastrophize, but it's a shift. And then finally we'll have that full moon in a little over a month where
I think
we
it's
can
really
take a
interesting
breath.
because in the first episode of the Aquarius cycle, I really talked about something that I learned at a workshop that I covered when I was working at the Journal with one of the pioneers of the codependency movement. He said something that really shifted my reality, which was change is inevitable, growth is optional.
Yeah.
So, we're going from a full moon in Leo to a new moon in very late Aquarius to a full moon, which is an eclipse in Pisces. And so we're talking about an elemental soup
Yeah.
that is going to be a really difficult to handle, but out of it can come. What am I talking about? The full moon is going to be in Virgo. My apologies. Because sometimes we forget that when we talk about the lunar cycle, we forget to talk about where
Yeah.
the sun is, right?
Yeah.
So the sun will be still in Pisces,
But so much Pisces energy.
but
We're working on that
yeah,
axis.
yeah. But that full moon in Virgo, because the full moon to me is always about beginning the process of integration.
Yeah.
I think that's what oppositions are about. I think they're about not balancing, they're about integration.
Yes.
I think of balance as a teeter-totter. Things don't stay in balance for very long. So always this notion that we have that we're trying to seek balance. That anyway,
It's
it's going to be,
synthesis, right? We have to synthesize. So this is Virgo Pisces synthesis that we're looking at
which
in
is
that
the
last
imagination
lunation.
and the world of all possibilities versus what can I actually do.
Yeah.
But it's also a call to action, like put something into practice.
Yeah.
Put something into practice. Take all of this experience and put it into practice.
And potentially in service, because both of those, that axis is about service, two very different kinds of service, hands-on, on the ground, discerning Virgo service. And Pisces is spiritual service, devotional service. And so those full moons, whether it's a Pisces or Virgo full moon, are always about how do we integrate those seeming opposites that are really the same and about how we show up and serve, which is
Yeah, well, for Virgo, it's what's the process? How do
yeah.
I process? Um, yeah, yeah, 15 minutes.
Oh, it goes
Time
right by, doesn't it?
just goes right by. You and I could keep talking forever because,
Well, we can meet again.
and we will, because first of all, I love conversation. So I have to admit to my audience, such as it is, that it took me a while to kind of went from it was a weird dynamic. I kind of started out thinking it was more supposed to be more like a newscast,
Yeah.
which is not my style. As a journalist, people always share things with me because I'm a conversationalist. That doesn't mean I don't ask questions. And there's so much more about the moon that we could unpack and we just don't have time to do. And I would love you to come back on so we can talk about, more about living with the moon on a daily basis.
I would love to come back anytime. And once we get through this, once we get through this, these rough seas that are coming up, and we're all settled into the new thing.
Well, when I did my thing for 2026, the many colors of 2026, it's like the wild, wild west. It really is. We're going from such a strong emphasis in earth and water to just everything fire and air.
Yeah.
Now, of course, for people like me, yes, not so much maybe
People
for
like
other
me,
people.
Cancer, Taurus, not so much.
Well, you know how to get into touch with me.
I have lots of mutable and lots of air too.
I'm
So
kidding. Because sometimes, uh, part of the purpose of doing these things is so people realize that they can access tools
yeah,
that will help them. And I would suggest, and one of the interesting things about it is the moon is in many respects, the most powerful tool we have on a daily basis to
yeah.
describe our personal experience. And so
And the
paying,
best way to connect, just before we finish our conversation, I want to encourage people that it doesn't have to be complicated at all, and you don't have to have any astrology. Go out and connect with the moon. Try to find her every day. And even doing that for one lunar month will show you just how varied she is, showing up sometimes in the day, sometimes in the night, always with a different face. And that is the best way to start any kind of lunar practice. Then you can layer the knowledge on top of that. But go outside and develop a real relationship with the moon and the living sky. It's absolutely the best place to start, and you'd be surprised the wisdom that comes just from that and what she'll tell you.
yay.
So that's what I'd like to leave people with.
And plus it will give you a sense of understanding astrology it can be in a very powerful way without actually having to do what Ellen and I have done, which is study the subject. Anyway, thank you so much, Bronwyn. And now I'm going to figure out how to find. I don't understand what I'm doing here.
Thank you, Leslie. Do you want me to stick around or?
You can do that if you wish. I don't understand what this is doing here. Okay. Okay, now we have liftoff. Andy, are you there?
I'm right here. Can you
I
not see
did
me?
something. One of these days I really should practice my Saturn and Virgo a little bit more and go on and just play with the damn thing. So I
Mhm.
understand. So, in closing, because the conversations for the last couple of episodes have been so great. I think maybe I need to stop scheduling do so many things. However, so I just wanted, Andy and I are just going to talk a little bit about how to keep connected to yourself with everything flying around. So, and I'm going to list off the things that I came up with, and then Andy can chime in. Oh, for God's sakes, meditation. So, what do I mean by meditation? Look, you can find yourself in a meditative state by doing the dishes. Really, what it is taking some time to create some quiet and some space for yourself. And if that means going out to shovel snow, that can be a really great form of meditation because it takes you outside of all your mental concerns. Your body's focused on accomplishing something, and your consciousness has an opportunity to just really breathe. Because we're not just talking about the physical aspect of breathing, we're talking about the capacity of your entire being, including your soul, just to be able to. That's one of the best things that you can do. Paying attention to your dreams, that will help a lot with all this, because there's a lot of creative energy with all this fire and air. It's more a case of the fact that we haven't had this concentration of energy like this for a long time. And it's going to take our body some time and our consciousness some time to go, oh, okay, it's a completely different ball game. Now, if you're like me and you have 7 planets and air signs, yeah, it's kind of like, this makes me happy. Um, Connecting to your imagination through crafts, music, dancing, singing, clowning, all the things that Andy loves to do, which is, I'm sure, I've come to realize, knowing Andy, it's one of the ways that she remains grounded.
That's true.
Using grounding exercises like safe space, safe place. I've talked about this before, but if you didn't happen to see the episodes or present when I talked about it, it's really a simple thing of taking a few comfortable breaths with your eyes closed and ask to be shown what your safe place, your safe space looks like. Mine is a lovely lake with a beautiful waterfall and lots of trees and rocks, which is one of the ways I stay grounded with all the air energy that I have. But that technique you can use anytime or anywhere you are. You just have to take a breath, close your eyes, and take yourself to that place, and you will automatically feel less overwhelmed. Sleep is also a good thing to do when your circuits are overloaded. Um, Also, if you want to get more grounded, if you really feel you're that much out of your body and trying the technique I just shared with you, or trying to ground your energy to the center of the earth, just get somebody to come and stand on your toes. It'll bring your energy right back into your body. Sharing your experiences. That is part of what Air and Fire is about. You cannot bottle all this up, or it will, not really sure what words I want to use because I don't want to scare anybody. Um, because it's really important especially with air. That's what air is about. And it's taken me most of my life to realize that's how, if I can't talk about my experiences, then it's harder for me to process them because they just remain this ball of thinking inside my head. Last but not least, laughing. Laughing is really good for, it connects to your body, it connects you to your whole consciousness. Go watch something that makes you laugh. It just takes the edge off of things. So, Andy, what else would you like to contribute?
Well, I love all those ideas. I'd love to add two of them. One would be when we look at remedy theory, especially with air and fire, we have to purge the air or purge the fire, because to just say to somebody, it'd be like telling someone who had a fever, like, stop having a fever. If you're full of fresh air, your blood is full of oxygen, literally. When we get in the air science, we get very oxygenized blood. And we start having a lot more thinking. The brain starts to race, and the air increases. So I would look at the purgation of that air. And I like what you were saying about, like, talking it out. I think one of the biggest ways I've learned to down stim as a very air person is to journal. And what you ask yourself a good prompt, like, God, what is your will for my next month? Or universe, what could I do that's of the greatest good? Or, like, there's also journals with prompts. You can actually buy a journal book for the duration of all these planets in Aquarius and journal your way through the month. I think talking to yourself is a very peaceful way to expend air energy, because we put our foot in our mouth when we talk out loud. They say that people who are very powerful are more quiet because you make a lot of mistakes when you talk. And so I think talking to your own journal is a way where we don't really make mistakes in purging air energy. So that's one I would say. And the other one I would say is walking and talking. They say if you're supposed to have a difficult conversation, walking while you have the conversation actually makes it much easier to handle. And I think it's actually getting that oxygenized, blood moving while you then are talking. So those would be my two ideas.
I like that. I just have one thing to say about the journaling. Because sometimes if you're like me and you have an overload of plants and air, for me, journaling doesn't work. It just takes me into my head, way out of everything else. It's way out of my body, way out of my feelings. Just, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um, however,
What?
however, I can journal when I'm compelled to do so, as opposed to, like, well, I have all those plants in Aquarius. I like suggestions, not orders.
Mm-hmm.
But I like those ideas, and that's why, and you're an expert in the remediation end of things and understanding more how the body works, because that's not necessarily my area of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and do you have anything you'd like to add, Bronwyn?
I was just writing down what Andrea was saying because me with all my earth and water, sometimes it gets stuck inside the
Claude?
thoughts, the ideas. Both of your suggestions, Leslie, you're emphasizing the importance of sharing. And I just love the journaling and walking and talking. Great suggestions. We all have different temperaments, so maybe it doesn't work for Leslie, but that sounds like it would really, really work for me. I'm going to use one of those prompts right away. Salt baths, like
Yeah.
when things are this intense, just going back to the basics of soothing and nourishing your body, like weighted blankets, soothing, nourishing herbal teas, like nothing really intense, but like a gentle, like a chamomile or nettle or something to just I'm thinking of all the infusions that I use during perimenopause, like oat straw and things that are just really gentle and nourishing. Sleeping, you said sleep, but yeah, sleeping more, being really careful of your self-talk. And I think that's probably a place where journaling can come in too, because even more now with these energies, thoughts are becoming reality at a much faster rate. So really being so kind and compassionate and gentle with your self-talk, taking lots of baths. Cancer moon, okay? I'm always going to
No,
recommend
I
the
totally
baths
get
and
it.
the broths.
Well,
And
well, you know,
Magnets are another
gentleness.
one. Magnets.
Oh,
that too. Oh yeah. Oh, and an acutonic session would be great.
yeah.
Mhm.
The other thing I wanted to say is that just a couple of days ago, I started wearing black socks to go to sleep just to keep me grounded.
I've been wearing lead socks, so
Really?
no.
He's kidding.
I'm
I'm
like,
being
oh,
serious.
this sounds like
She's
really amazing Saturn remediation.
I know. We would need a lead belt in order to ground from all this energy, honestly.
Yeah.
okay. Well, so I have two quotes for wrap it up. Um, both from anthropologist Margaret Mead, who just left the planet. But no, it wasn't her, it was somebody else. I forgot which one. I'm thinking of the woman that worked with. Um,
Jane Goodall? Are you talking about Jane Goodall?
yes, that's who I was talking about. Margaret Mead's been gone for a little while. Anyway, so quote number one, because I couldn't decide between the two, was never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. And I love the second one. That's the serious one. Here's the one that's like make you giggle. Always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else, which is funny and true all at the same time. So anyway, this was great.
This is a great episode.
I had so
So
much fun.
it was so much fun, and I look forward to having you come on again, and maybe we will do some interacting with other humans who might have questions about the whatever. If you're
Yeah, I'd
open
love
to
to come
that,
back
Bronwyn.
anytime.
And okay, like this is getting to be so much fun.
I know. I love how all your guests want to come back.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, who doesn't want to talk to me? No. Uh, well, you know, as a journalist, I had a reputation for people sharing things with me that they wouldn't share with other people, and they said, well, why? I wonder why that is. And I said, because I'm actually interested in them. It's a funny thing because not all journalists actually like people.
Interesting.
You think that they would, but not necessarily.
Hmm.
And that is my a slightly contentious comment for the day. Okay, well, thanks everyone again for joining me and on my fabulous journey through creating a new podcast. It's been a whole lot of fun and it's getting to be more fun in each passing week. And I'm more relaxed and less uptight. So, and in part, thank you to my wonderful producer, Andy Gertzka, for always um, patting me on the back and slightly kicking me in the ass when I need it. So, anyways, until the next time, everyone, be true to yourself.
Mm.
All right, bye.
Thanks.